I'm Edward, and I'm from Malaysia.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you. I'm sorry about the time confusion.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Thank you for taking the time for this interview today. And, and also, I just want to congratulation for the release of your debut album. Maybe I will see you at the end of the world.
Yeah.
And although 2020 last year was a tough year, your current label, Root Records, managed to sign you to their label. How did that come about?
So the guy that mixed my album, his name is Mike Pepe. He is friends with a guy over at Root, and he had gotten the band Sundressed signed. And there's some good friends of mine who are also from Phoenix, where I'm from. And I sang backup vocals on a song on their album, so they already kind of knew my name and had heard of me. And then Mike sent over the album to them and they liked it and they decided to sign. And I was already I'd started the process of releasing the album. So they just kind of jumped in on that and we took it from there.
Oh, I see. And this is your first time working with a label, with a major label. How is it different when you are working independently in the past?
It's, it's, it's crazy. They just have so many resources and like relationships with people that I would never have otherwise had access to. They've got amazing PR people and just, anything that I could ask for, they pretty much can pull it off with a phone call, which is great. I've been releasing stuff independently since I was 15. So it's a lot. You have to wear a lot of different hats and kind of be a business person and a musician at the same time, which is not my strongest suit. So it's been nice to be able to just focus on making songs.
Oh, great. And speaking about your debut album, can you just describe about the album itself?
Yeah. So it's a diary of my life between 2018 and 2019 and I was just kind of growing a lot at that time. I was growing out of a lot of situations that I was in and kind of realizing that if I wanted to pursue my dreams and have the life that I wanted, I was going to have to distance myself and let go of things that I didn't necessarily want to. So it was a lot of change happening and a lot of fear of the future. And I kind of felt like the world was going to end before 2020. I have a lot of anxiety and I don't know, I guess I felt like I maybe was running out of time and I wanted to make this album and get it out in the world before it was too late. So it's kind of about itself.
Okay. And can you describe the creative process of making this album?
Yeah, so I wrote all the songs just by myself in my bedroom on an acoustic guitar, and then I have GarageBand, so I just
Yes.
you know kind of put together the arrangements and a lot of the parts that I was hearing in my head on my own at first, and then I spent all of January 2020 in the studio making the album with a bunch of my friends and then my producer Sam Rawson. Um, so it was the most time that I'd ever spent on making music. So there was a lot of experimenting and moving parts around and trying a whole bunch of different sounds, which was super cool for me to get to take the time to do.
Yeah. How do you think that making this album will inspire your next album? Are you working on your next album?
I, in a way, yeah, I'm working on writing songs and demoing them out at home again. So definitely definitely working on it. I learned so much because this was my first full-length album, so I learned a lot and I think I gained a lot of confidence that my ideas aren't that bad and that I should follow my gut. And it can be hard to not be influenced by other people's opinions.
And I can see, I can hear Avril Lavigne influence in your music.
Yay! I'm a huge
Ah,
fan.
yeah. Were you influenced by her music when you're making this album?
Yeah, she was kind of her and a lot of the music of that time, like Kelly Clarkson, and just like the power pop rock
Yes.
female thing was what I was super into when I was like, 12 and 13, and that's kind of what inspired me to start playing guitar in the first place. So I learned to play from her songbooks. That was, how I taught myself to play guitar and the first songs that I ever like learned in that way. So I think a lot of the way that I write and the structure of how I see things comes from her.
I see. And besides Avril Lavigne, is there anyone else do you look up to?
There's a lot, but I think on the total opposite end of the spectrum from her, this album was really inspired by the band Death Cab for Cutie. They
Okay.
actually owned the studio that I recorded at, and that was a lot of the reason why I, ended up working there. And I've always been really inspired by their production and just kind of the sounds that go into their albums. So I wanted to be in that place and to like actually figure out how they did all of it. And there was a lot of that inspired the album itself.